Hey there everyone, Pal here, and welcome back. Today we're starting something new that might become a mainstay of the channel. I don't know. I'm testing the waters here. I'm trying something out. So I found this website that randomly selects a game from your Steam library. I can even narrow it down to the point where it's one game that you haven't played. And I have quite a few games in my Steam library that I haven't played. So what I'm going to do is basically a Steam Roulette. Once, maybe twice a week, I'm going to have this select a game. I'm going to play the game long enough to get a feel for it. Be that 10 minutes, be that 3 hours. I don't know. It's going to depend on the game. Some games have much greater learning curve. But I'm going to do enough to get a feel for it and then put together a 10-minute video on that game. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. I'm going to use this as an excuse to go back and try some of my back catalog and see how things are. But yeah, so let's go ahead. Let's jump into it. I'm going to cut the video here because I'm not going to show you my account name. But let's go ahead and we will do a game that I have not played. And we have Foul Play. So this one I remember actually kind of when I bought it. This was one of the recommendations that came from Total Biscuit. I tend to have opinions that align with him. He really liked this game, though I do think he was somewhat biased towards it because he does like beat 'em up shmup type games. Also, it's a British themed game, so he kind of pushed that. Now, I never actually played it. I don't know. I bought it on sale, relatively cheap. I want to say I got it for like $5, $8, and just never got around to playing it. There was something else that came out that took my attention before I had to play it, and it ended up going overlooked. This happens a lot with me, or did happen a lot. I've gotten a lot better over time of not buying games like this so much. There was a time period where I was single, living in an apartment. I had more income than sense. That's a bad way to put it. And yeah, I would just buy these $5 games when they were on sale for no apparent reason. So what is Foul Play? Well, Foul Play is a 2D hack and slash, beat 'em up, shmup, whatever you want to call it, with an interesting take on it. So you play like a British archaeological guy, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen type dude. And he's telling a story to an audience. The whole thing is done in like a play style. So the audience is down in the front, and your scenery backgrounds are like moving. They lower in. You'll see like stagehands bringing props in and out. You'll see stage hooks pulling enemies after they've been beat up. But you start out, and the guy's just going through one of his life stories for entertaining the audience. And the audience is kind of how you rate how well you're doing. So you don't really have health. It almost has an element like Guitar Hero or Rock Band, where as long as the audience is happy, you're good. And when you take a hit, your audience happiness drops off. So each time you get hit by an enemy, your audience will lose a little bit of applause or rowdiness, whatever the meter is. And if it gets too low, you'll eventually lose. They'll walk out on you. But as long as you can, you can take quite a few hits, as long as you get back into a good combo, you can quickly get the audience enthusiasm back up and continue on. And it's pretty cool. I do like the art style and the aesthetic of it. There's a great little, just the way it's clearly like a paper mache type play background drop. I kind of find that neat. It's unique to what I've seen in these type of games. Now, these type of games are not my cup of tea. I really don't like them all that much. I wouldn't say they're bad. They're just not something I really get into. This one seems to be relatively simplistic also. There's no real upgrades for skills or anything. You have a basic attack, you have an attack that knocks up in the air, you have a jump, and then you have a block that rotates into a counter. You can also hold down the right trigger and dodge. And then there is like an ultimate, so you'll notice above my health, or not my health, but my score on the upper left, there's kind of a blue bar that fills up, and when that gets to a max, you can activate like a showtime type thing, which is an overpower thing, which kind of makes you immune for a short amount of time, about 8 seconds, to get through some of the tougher areas. And from what I can tell, I played through 3 of the 5 acts. That's really all there is to it in terms of depth on your side. You do come across more complex enemies as the games go on that have bigger attacks that need to be parried, and the block pattern on them is a little bit tighter. This game is also co-op, So you can play this with 2 players. I believe it's local only co-op. I didn't have anybody else to play with it, so I just went solo. But like I said, I got through the first 3 of 5 acts. The main draw for this game seems to be time trial or score attack. So while you're playing along, the audience will yell out random things. They'll say, kill so-and-so last, or get a 75 hit combo. They'll give you these tasks, these optional tasks that they want you to complete. And if you do them, you gain, a certain amount of renown and everything, or applause, to up your score. And then there's leaderboards that you can compete your score against other people's score. I have no idea how active they are. This game did come out a few years ago, so I'm guessing by now the leaderboards aren't all that active, but there is a time trial, time attack, score attack type mode that you can put in. Now, I did have one problem playing this game. So I have an Xbox One controller. And at first, the first 3 minutes of the game, I was running in circles. I couldn't attack. It was very weird, like X to attack. I'm pounding X, and my guy's doing nothing. And instead of running, he's kind of dodge rolling. And then I found out that if I held in my left trigger, it would allow me to attack. So I spent the first 60% of the time I put into this game, so I played it for about 40 minutes. So the first 30 minutes or so, I spent just holding in the left trigger the entire time. By holding in the left trigger, all of a sudden then my face buttons, the X, Y, A, and B, would work. This was on an Xbox One controller. And when you first plug in and launch the game, they say it's designed for an Xbox 360 controller. Most games, this isn't a problem, and I haven't done any research. There might be an easy fix for this, but somewhere between the Xbox One and Xbox 360 controller, there's a hiccup where, in this game at least, it considers the trigger not held in when it is held in, and vice versa. So, like I said, I spent the first 30 minutes of the game holding in the left trigger to the point where my finger was starting to hurt because it was just on solid the entire time. But this allowed me to play. After about 30 minutes, I'm like, this can't be the way the game was designed. It just hold it in because it didn't make any sense. So I popped my my Valve controller, my Steam controller in, and that one then worked just fine. Once I hooked up the Steam controller, I didn't have to hold in the left trigger anymore, and I could play it like normal. The problem there, though, is I don't know if you have a Steam controller or not. The face buttons, the X, Y, A, and B, they're not very good. They're kind of small. They're pretty far away from your thumb, and just their spacing is very tight compared to the Xbox 360 controller or a PS4 controller. They don't have a lot of space between them. So going X, Y, B, you can end up pushing all 4 of them, or generally you push 2 or 3 of them at the same time. I did find it more enjoyable on the Steam controller, though, just because I didn't have to hold down that left button. Also, with the Steam controller, I could have gone in, I could have remapped a lot of them. I could have remapped them to the haptic pad if I wanted to, but I wasn't going to do that for this video. But that is something to keep in mind. If you are looking at this game, it does have a unique take on the beat-em-up schmuck. It's probably cheap. You can probably get it for a few dollars. It's not bad. But if you are going to get it, you want to probably make sure you have an Xbox 360 controller to use. You're not going to want to do this with an Xbox One controller, or double check, see if there's a way to fix it that I did not come across. Or the Steam controller, like I said, it does work. It's just not ideal for this type of game. Overall, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. It's other than the left finger cramping up from holding in that left trigger the whole time, I kind of liked it. It's not something I'm going to go back to, though, because I don't like these beat-em-up shmups. It was a bad purchase for me. However, if you are a fan of this genre and are looking for an interesting take on it with some interesting story mechanics and audience and health mechanics, yeah, I think it's probably pretty good, and I do recommend it. Alright, well, that covers the first Steam Roulette. Only like 355 more games that I've never played in my library to go. Until next time, this has been Paller. Thanks for watching.